Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about how I set up my ARs, the two different categories that I kind of divide them into. And I'm not saying that this is the one and only way to do it. It's just my way of doing it. And if it makes sense, you might be able to grab a couple ideas and make them work for you as well. So I generally divide my ARs into the home defense, shit hit the fan category. That's one category versus the everyday shooters. Okay, so the home defense, shit hit the fan guns tend to be the heavier ones, right? So this has the quad rail. The nice thing about the quad rail is that it's got rails on all sides all the time. So if down the road, if I need to add stuff to this, I don't have to go looking for sections of rails to add to it, right? So with this gun over here, this rail over here is a lot lighter. Okay, this is more of my everyday shooter, a lot lighter. Okay, but if I want to add stuff, I have to go looking for these little rails to add onto here. Okay, so because this is lighter, this tends to be my everyday shooter. This gun kind of gets stored like this, right? And this isn't my home defense gun, but they have a similar setup. So they all have a quad rail. Okay, they've got a sling. Okay, 2-point sling like this. Attach it on the outside here, which is more controlled. They all have a rifle light. Now on the other ones, I have the rifle lights on the right side, right? Not on the sling side, on the other side. And there's a pressure pad on top that I can activate it with. This one, it's on the left side. I'll use my thumb to activate this. Okay. Okay, so that's how that gets activated. It's got a Holosun 503 CU, so this is solar powered with a battery backup. Okay, and here's the thing on the guns that mainly stay in a safe and don't move around too much, don't get used. I mean, you might actually get the 5-year battery life out of these. Okay, the ones that I use on a day-to-day basis, I usually don't even get a year of battery life, despite what Holosun says about long battery life. If you're using these guns every day like I do, they're always in motion. I can't, and here's the thing, on most days, I don't use them in solar power mode. I use them in manual mode. And the reason is because sometimes I'm shooting in shady areas. I need to be able to manually adjust the light. So the ones that sit in the safe, yeah, maybe you'll get 5 years out of them. If not 5, you'll get 4. The ones you use every day, you're lucky if you get a year out of them, okay? So I've got my sling set up here, got my rifle light over there, got my optic over here, okay? These are great value. And then I got my backup sights, okay? So, and this gun pretty much stays like this. Now, with the quad rails tend to add weight to the gun. So you've got the flexibility of being able to add things anytime you want. But the gun is front heavy, but it also is stronger, okay? So with this rail over here, if I accidentally, let's say, slam a truck door on this, this is not gonna break, okay? If a truck door gets slammed on this is going to either bend, crack, whatever. Okay, this is not going to take a whole lot of abuse. Okay, so this is a lighter rail, right? There's a lighter gun because of this rail that's adjustable. But if you want to add stuff, you gotta go looking for rails and stuff like that. So again, the reason why that's the everyday shooter, this gun mainly stays in the safe. Okay, so this is more like the duty gun, right? If you ever gotta actually use this for any serious work, this is the gun that I would use. Okay, let's put this down for a sec. So that, like I said, that gun gets stored like that. This gun gets stored like this, right? So there's very little stuff on this. All I have is the optic. Now, one of the things you'll notice, I do have the bigger optic on this one. This is the 510 C. It's got the bigger window, and again, with a lot of times I'm moving and shooting. So this is a gun where I can, I can be moving around and I can better keep track of that reticle. So the big window really helps. Again, for that type of situation, I'm okay with the smaller optic because I'm not likely going to be moving and shooting as much. Okay, that's probably more of a hide and shoot type of situation. Whereas this is everyday shooting. I tend to do a lot more moving and shooting. Now, I have a 3-slot Picatinny rail that lives on this gun. The reason why it lives on there, 2 reasons. Number one, I use it as an anchoring point, okay, where I can put my hand there, right? So it's a very good anchoring point. It's also a great place to add a bipod, right? So if I want to shoot this off a bipod, I can quickly add the bipod. So it's worth having that on there, okay? Now, with the quad rail, obviously I can add the bipod anytime I wanted to with that, because that's always got rail on the bottom. This only has it in one spot over here. Now, let's talk about backup sights on this. I don't put backup sights on this. Now, part of the reason is this piece of real estate over here where I would put the rear sight, what normally goes on there is the magnifier, okay? Magnifier goes on. On the regular basis, I am more likely to use this magnifier than I am to use the backup sight. So it doesn't make sense to put backup sights on here if I don't expect to be using them. But on the other hand, I do expect to be shooting this magnifier. Because with this, with this, and that's a 9mm. I have them 5.56 Great thing about the 9mm is I can shoot the steel up close. So I can shoot the steel up close, and I can flip the magnifier over and go out for a more relevant shot at distance. I had to get more stable on the table in order to get that shot. So on the day-to-day basis, I'm far more likely to use the magnifier, okay, than I am to use the iron sights. Now, I do keep iron sights for each AR. Like I don't mean like I've got a whole bunch of ARs that share iron sights. I mean, for each AR, I can't remember how many I got, but for each AR, they each have their own set of iron sights in the bag somewhere that kind of matches up to the gun, okay? And if I needed to, I could put it on. So if I ended up with this gun, okay, like let's say I was gonna hit the fan type of situation, I'm at a location where this is the only gun I have. Well, I got my iron sights. I'm not going to put them on the gun because, again, I'm more likely to use the magnifier than the iron sights. But I would keep this in my backpack. I would throw the bipod in my backpack. I would have the sling on in the backpack, but the sling is something I would put on the gun, right? So because let's get this on there. The sling is something I would put on the gun because the sling is basically a holster for your gun. So this has the nice QD points over here, which I find extremely convenient to work with on a day-to-day basis, right? And as you can see, I put it on the outside over here because, again, that controls the gun better. Also, by this being on the outside, if I need to get to the other side, I can do a left side transition like that, get back into the gun, okay? So that's why I put this on the outside. Now, these QD slings, they're very convenient. However, be aware that this is aluminum. This is probably a harder steel. Eventually, the point at which the QD goes into the aluminum rail, over time, that's going to wear out. Okay, I don't mean the QD part. I mean the rail part. That's going to wear out versus this style over here. This is a lot more heavy duty. Okay, that's not going to wear out. All right. So that might break at some point, but that's not going to wear out. Okay, it would take a lot to break this over here. Okay, so again, part of the reason why this is more of the home defense, shit hit the fan type of gun. But it also makes sense for a reason. This is simply a heavier gun. On a day-to-day basis, I don't want to be carrying a heavy gun into the woods. Okay, I want to carry a lighter gun. So that also makes a lot of sense. Right? So that's how these things kind of fell into the category. Naturally fell into these categories. So got my sling. I really like the fast loop, right? Because especially if you want to go into a high ready, right? You can let this out a little bit and get to a high ready. Load a mag if you need to. and then come back and then quickly shorten it up. So the fast loop is definitely a must-have for your AR. Now this one's from Brash Tactical. It's not very expensive. I think it was somewhere in the area of about $17 to $20. So this is pretty cheap and good. I've been using this a lot. I do have more expensive ones, but I love it when I can get away with using cheap stuff. You know, that works, right? And obviously you guys see me doing this stuff every day. So if I'm telling you I got something that's cheap and works, I mean it's been tested. Okay. So yeah, so that's Brash Tactical. It's like 20 bucks. You get it on Amazon. Okay. So anyway, so I got my sling. I got my magnifier, right? Which if I want to go lighter, the nice thing about this is this comes off, okay? So that's one of the reasons why I prefer the magnifier and optic versus the variable 1 to 8, because I have 1 to 8 scopes. Problem with a variable like 1 to 8 or even 1 to 6. First of all, there's the weight difference between like a 1 to 6 and a 1 to 8 is not that much. So you don't get much lighter. You get cheaper. When you go from, let's say, a 1 to 8 to 1 to 4, let's say, I have found that the price goes down, but the weight doesn't go down a whole lot, okay? So it makes sense to me. If you're going to have a variable scope, might as well get the highest magnification that they have. But that adds an extra £1.5 to your gun, and that includes the scope mount, okay? So between the scope mount and the scope itself, you're adding £1.5 to the gun, which you're stuck with, right? Because you can't just take the variable scope off and now you got nothing on the gun, right? Other than maybe your backup sights. Whereas with this, I've got the option that if I want to go lighter, I can completely remove the magnifier, and now I've got just a very light gun, okay? And if I feel that I do need backup sights, I can put the backup sights on it. Now these are, these have already been zeroed, right? Now naturally, when you put the sights on, take them off, put them back on, you're not going to have a perfect zero, right? When and that same thing applies with the optic, okay? Because this optic here has the quick release, and there's plenty of times I took it off, put it back on. You know, I mean, yeah, I can hit targets with it out to 100 yards, but the zeros moved a little bit, right? It might just require a couple of clicks. It might just be like an inch or two, but it definitely moves when you take the optic and put it back, off and put it back on. The same thing with your iron sights; they're gonna move a little bit, but in a shit hit the fan type of situation, most likely, especially if you're out in the woods like me over here, you're not going to be engaging past 100 yards. So just taking pre-zeroed backup sights and throwing them on the gun is going to allow you to use the gun effectively, okay, if your optic catastrophically fails. Okay? Let's talk about light. Okay? So like I said earlier, on this rifle over here, I have a dedicated rifle light. Right, on my home defense gun, it's on the other side with a pressure pad on top. Okay, on the guns that I use every day, I prefer to use a pistol light. Now both of these are 1,000 lumens. Okay, so that's a 1,000 lumen light. There's a 1,000 lumen light. Right, there's the TLR1. Okay, TLR1 HL. The difference with the pistol light is it's 1,000 lumens, but it tends to be a little bit wider versus the rifle light, which tends to reach a little further. Okay. Again, I can still see out to 100 yards unless the target is trying to hide. Okay, if you got somebody that's trying to hide at 100 yards at night, it's really hard to see them with a light. I mean, I don't care if you got like a giant spotlight. Okay, it's hard to see somebody, especially out here in the woods, because all these trees cast shadows. Right, the furthest I've been able to hit a target, an 11 by 8 white paper at night with a rifle light. Not even, I mean, I hit it, but I was able to see it. I think it was 130 yards. So even though these lights are rated out to like 300 yards, in the woods over here, you're not going to see it because every tree basically takes away from that light a little bit. So that's the reality of being out in the woods. So with the pistol light, take this out a little bit so I can get up here. The way I put this on is basically I clip it onto the top here. And I've done videos where I'm shooting this at night. There you go. It's on. And then just tighten it up a little bit. And that's it. Easy on, easy off. And the way I activate this is with my thumb. Right? That works really good. Easy on, easy off. If I don't want it, I just take it off. All right, so that's one of the benefits of this. And being that it's on top. That sling. I screwed up that transition, but it's all right. I can activate it with either side. All right, so I can go on this side. I can go on that side. So I can work this as a lefty or as a righty without having to use pressure pads, which is something that I can't easily do with this. Okay? So this is basically I can only use this on my right side, but I have a quad rail, so I could unscrew this and put this on the other side, but I have to actually unscrew it. Okay? So this I have found the pistol lights on top of the ARs like this, big convenience. I'm more likely to run with this setup with the light over here and the get it back on. There you go. I'm always faster off camera. Okay, so I'm more likely to run with this setup, right, than I am, with backup sights, because this is something I can use, right? I can actually, especially if you're going in, like if you picture yourself going into a structure or into a cave or something, you're gonna need the light on the gun. Then when you come out, if you're coming into an open area, you might need magnification if you're shooting at distance. Okay, so this is actually a lot more practical for me than putting the backup sights on the gun. But if I need to, I got them, right? Keep them in the backpack. If I need to pull these out, I pull them out. If I need to get lighter with this gun, I just take the stuff off, right? Get you off. That comes off, and I got a lighter gun. And also that can go in the backpack too. Okay, so that's my philosophy as far as how to set up your AR. You got your main home defense gun, which needs a light, needs an optic, but most likely doesn't need a magnifier, right? Because the problem with this setup here, there's no place to put a magnifier. I would have to take this off, right? So that's the problem. I mean, it obviously it's not hard to take off, but I need to take this off. But in a home defense type of situation, I'm not going to need a magnifier. I'm almost definitely shooting inside of 100 yards. Okay, so don't need a magnifier. Now, a lot of times one of the places I have found where the magnifier really helps is even if you're inside of 100 yards, but maybe you got a really tiny target, like all you're seeing is a hand or something or a foot that's sticking out. Maybe it doesn't even need to get shot, but you can see it through the magnifier. Okay, whereas so that's one of the benefits where the magnifier can even help you inside of 100 yards. However, in a home defense type of situation, that probably does not apply. Okay. Whereas with this gun over here, I'm out in the woods every day. It makes a lot more sense to have the ability to put the magnifier on there, put the lights on there, have a place to put my hand. I got my sling on there. And the gun gets stored like this. Actually, I start with the sling off. Okay, I don't store this with the sling on because a lot of times I'm not using it. I'm doing stuff where I don't need to be using a sling. Right? If I'm just shooting distance, and that's all I'm doing. I don't need a sling on the gun. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. And again, I'm just sharing my personal philosophy as far as how I set up my ARs. I'm not saying that this is the one and only way to do it, but hey, if you guys have any other ideas, any thoughts, suggestions, let me know. One of the things I have tried, I actually did a video on this where I had the magnifier back here, had the light up here, and then this was on an AR where I had Picatinny rail all the way across the top. What I did is I put behind the light, I put the front flip up sight. Back here, I put the rear flip up sight. So basically, I mean between front sight and rear sight, they were about 10 inches apart, which is still further apart than the sights on your pistol, right? And that was perfectly functional too. I ended up taking it off because it was just unnecessary weight on the gun. Okay, I mean, unless I think I'm really gonna be needing it, there's no reason to have all that stuff on there. But that is an option if you absolutely must go out. If you must go out with a magnifier, a light up here, optic, and you must have your backup sights. If you got an AR that's got rail all the way across the top here, you can also put your front sight up here and your rear sight back over there. I mean, like I said, I tried it. I didn't like it. There was no use for it. I mean, mainly because the optic doesn't fail, right? These Holosuns, they're really good. They don't fail. I mean, I shoot every day. I travel around. I train people all the time. I've got several pistols that have like 10,000 rounds on them. I've shot out, actually this barrel right here is a replacement. I got a free replacement from Palmetto's lifetime warranty. I didn't shot the rifle, but the barrel cracked at somewhere around 15,000 rounds. There was a crack. I'm not quite sure why that happened, but I had another AR that shoots 5.56. Completely shot the rifling out at 22,000 rounds, and that was also replaced by Radical on the lifetime warranty. Okay, so I do lots of shooting. The optic is probably the least likely thing to fail on your gun. Okay, if you have one of these Holosuns. Okay, so of all the things that are on the gun, right, the optic is probably the least likely thing to fail. The things that generally fail on these guns, somewhere around the 10,000 round mark, not this one. This one doesn't have that high of a round. Is the trigger group, right? The sears start wearing out. The hammer springs have broken. Other thing is the bolt, the bolt itself, or extractor, or the firing pin, or some part of the bolt is gonna break by 10,000 rounds. Okay, I've been through several times already. Okay, I've got a couple of ARs that have more than 10,000 rounds on them. Those are the parts that are gonna break. I've never really had a situation where the Holosun optic broke on me. So that's going to outlast the gun. Okay. Now the batteries are going to die. You know what? Batteries are pretty light, right? If you're at the point where you're thinking about having extra this and extra magazines and extra ammunition and extra lights, you know what? Take a couple of extra batteries with you. Okay. If you're at that point where you're having extra this and that and the other thing, yeah, get some extra batteries. That's you know, not heavy. And it's pretty quick to change compared to a broken trigger group or broken bolt or all of those other things. So a couple of things for you guys to think about. Let me know what you guys think. Drop some comments below. If you're not a member of the channel, subscribe. Find me on Odyssey. That's ODYSEE. That's a censor-free platform. Okay, my channel over there is Poconos Tactical. I also have Absolute Guns and Safa over here in Pocono Shooting. So basically, I'm trying to stay ahead of the censors, right? So they're chasing me, trying to shut me down here and there in the other place, and I just keep opening up accounts here and there in the other place. So thanks a lot for watching. Talk to you guys soon.